Hmm. Hmm.
What's new?
Dude, it's all happening. Sorry, I'm eating at the moment. Kind of a rush. Um, good. Is it today Thursday?
Yeah,
Life is good, bro. Life is good. A lot of stuff. Yeah. How's Wrightwood?
it's great.
Yeah.
Snowing. I love it.
More than last week?
No less for sure, but dude, anything other than just constant like 70 degrees is great.
Oh, the miserable temperate climate. Damn, how we want seasons.
I want variety, bro.
Now you're just gonna get snow.
Hmm.
Hmm. How are the classes?
It's good, you know, getting to know the kids. Um, Rewarding when they want to learn how to like make a short and they've never done that before, and you know, we can make stuff. It's fun, having a good time.
Is there ages that are more fun than others?
What's that?
Okay. I found this on the web for as their ages that are more fun than others.
Well,
Check it out.
There we go. Thanks, Siri. High school's better than
why
middle
again?
school.
Does that not happen to anyone else? I don't know.
But
Anyway, back to the question that Siri went pretty weird on Rogue on.
but yeah, high school's my favorite, but it's all good, man. It's really good. As far as like a day job goes, could not be more ideal. I'm loving it.
Does it?
Less
I'm curious too, like specifics. Like, how have you come up with the lesson plan, and is it like helping you even like remind you of some important things of film and everything? And are you seeing kids get it? Are you reaching the kids yet?
I'm reaching a few. No, I do feel that way, and I also think as far as helping my own process too, is it's the idea that you can just go and shoot something. Like they want to shoot features in a semester, and it's like, oh yeah, you can just take a camera and like make something.
Sure.
And it's taken out a lot of those limitations, those self-imposed limitations that I had of like, yeah, you can actually make something long form for
Like,
cheap.
what are you guys working on in this semester?
A lot of stuff. We're making shorts, podcasts,
So
features.
why are you trying to break them in easy? Is that the idea? Like with shorts, or what's the
So
interest?
So, I mean, for my more entry level kids, it's like, camera basics, scripts, shots, all that stuff. So they have the building blocks, editing, Photoshop. And then as they get more advanced, it's like, okay, let's start to make stuff, get that practical knowledge.
But I assume all of the film classes that you're teaching start with some type of back to basics, like relearn, like film 101 stuff, right?
Yeah, we've got that for the earlier kids, but I mean, there are some kids who've been in like, 4 or 5 years of film. So
Okay.
ready to go.
So they have kind of an elaborate film program then, that sounds like.
Yeah.
And so kids that are further along, like what is the class called something different for one or
Film Pro.
okay. And then straight away, how do you treat that differently than the other ones?
It's like they've already got scripts, they've already got ideas, they've already been. I entered like halfway through a year, so they already have projects that they've been working on, and it's kind of just picking up the pace. How can we schedule this? How can we
What
uh
happened to the last film teacher?
just another opportunity. He'd been there for like 7 years.
But like halfway through the year, oh, literally something came up.
Yeah.
Very
But
cool.
bro, I want to hear about you, but first I want to touch on a couple things that came up.
Mhm.
First, I've been working with Ken again, and we're attacking the feature from a different angle. And our idea this time is to basically have some kind of connective tissue and create like an anthology of sorts. So
Ooh.
we'll piecemeal the feature together, but go in with the intention. It's not just like taking the shorts that I've done and like putting it all like making like one big feature, but it's like all of them relate to one another, and it's not that thing we always bump up against where it's like you have 15 days to shoot and you got to have 100K locked from investors. We're going to take investors, but we're going to piecemeal it together, likely as like kind of associate producer type deal, and get people to raise for the shorts. And then schedule wise, budget wise, it all makes a lot of sense. So it feels like a good like next step, as opposed to we've done all these shorts and now like let's figure out how to make a feature. We've done that for a while now and it hasn't really worked out. And so like this feels like a much more reasonable way of attacking that problem.
So you're saying you want to do a feature, which is going to be a combination of some of this, not literally the shorts that you've done, but stuff that's on par with those concepts, and then put those all into a feature form in an anthology series, so that it's a series of short stories in the movie.
Exactly.
And you're saying to raise money for that, you're not necessarily going to have to put pressure on yourself to like raise money traditional. You're going to like maybe do a fundraising round or something, just casual.
Yeah, well, like we we'll take investments and we'll have all the paperwork in place. So all our T's are crossed, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're gonna have all the right contracts, we're gonna have all the right agreements, and but the only difference is like we're gonna it's a much more reasonable ask. We'd be asking for like 5K from someone as opposed to needing like 25K. It's that type of thing.
Interesting. Have you been sort of pursuing it already so far?
No, I mean we're in super early stages, but we're likely going to shoot once I've got my summer break, so probably like June, July. And uh and I'm also I'm pulling up his name. Jonah Feingold is this guy who made 3 rom-coms, and I think he's only like 25, but like these are rom-com feature films. And he has this class that meets for like it's like 5 weeks in a row. And he's talking about his process. And I feel like that's coming at a really good time where, it's demystifying a lot of things. It's being really transparent about a lot of stuff. We just had our first round yesterday of, it was a lot of intros and that kind of stuff, but we're going to start digging into the finances of how he accomplished that.
Online class
on the indie side.
Is it an online class or where is it?
It's like a Zoom type deal.
Okay.
We just meet, 5 weeks in a row. There are maybe like 30 other people who are doing it too.
Ken taking that with you? Sorry. Is Ken doing that with you?
No, it's just me. But I'll be like I'll be relaying info too, and we can talk about it on this podcast and everything.
Yeah, it's exciting. All right, so you're pushing it. You're doing that one. All right, well, I mean, I'm really excited for you. The whole thing is you're in an interesting chapter at the moment. I wonder, yeah, so far has the day job been pretty like immersive, taking up more time, but I imagine kind of satisfying, right?
Yeah, it's been good, man. I think my life's a lot more in sync. It's not hiding the fact that I'm a filmmaker. Like that's what it is. I'm teaching film. And yeah, it feels good. I like it.
That's awesome. You still I mean, I told you like last week for the first time, but Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog.
Yup.
It's funny how he became a teacher to supplement his main hustle. And it reminded me, you got to check it out, man.
I do.
Speaking of which, I have been taking a certification course to teach pickleball.
No way.
And I think I got a connection to a place to where I'm going to be able to teach there, like built-in client base. It'd be the ultimate side gig.
That'd be unreal.
Be unreal. And I think it's going to work out, man. So I'm really excited. But
wow.
funny already on the teaching course. My dad's like, I'll pay for it. I want you to really study the course, like really, understand. And what I'm taking away from it is that immediately some of the stuff is so simple and smart about how to not go too heavy into technique first. About how the main emphasis on all things is like to see where the student is at and then work on things like technique to enhance their game and then to see them play again and get at it. I wish there was like a streamlined acting and filmmaking certification that teachers needed, because stuff like this, like I've just seen so many teachers go mad with power. And I had the same thing with surf coaches back in the day and other coaches. And tennis is the same way. Like, I'm kind of liking this idea of like just simple concepts for teachers that they need to know. And it's awesome.
Yeah, that is true. There's a lot of, I mean, we've talked about all the acting classes and shit. And I've never taken like a film class outside of college, but I would imagine it's kind of the same type of deal.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I feel like a film production class is inherently going to be more participatory than acting classes. Some of these teachers, Larry Moss, for instance, I went to his class, $500.
Barry Moss, no way. That's
Yeah.
the guy who taught Leo, right?
Yeah.
I read his book.
Okay.
Did you read it?
No.
How was his class?
Well, so my friend was getting up on stage, paid $500 to do so. And I
For
went
a day or for like a whole class?
just for a class, and the class is like 5 hour. He does like a seminar once a month.
Wow.
And you pay $500. You get assigned a scene partner. You do a scene that probably takes 15 minutes. You get up there on stage. And then you could do the thing where you sit in the audience for like 150. And I did that. And it was wild how, first of all, you see all these celebrities in the crowd.
Really?
Yeah. That are just like friends, probably add clout to it. And then literally it's just not a good setup, dude. The actors that are on stage are so nervous. And Larry Moss treats it like it's such like an exclusive thing, like, oh, you're lucky to hear any of my words. So he makes it more nerve-wracking. And he makes it sort of this like ultimatum moment of like, here I am. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with you. Now you need to go and like seek real help. And dude, it was so like cringe to me, and like it didn't help. But anyway, so that was Larry Moss. So that was one.
Is that in New York or LA?
That was in LA actually. But look, he could have been a nice guy and stuff, but I'm just convinced these celebrities don't know the difference because they're too far removed. And maybe, quite frankly, maybe he was like great back in the day when he had like an intimate class where he was able to, but it gets so far away from what I described, which is just like a student does their thing. The teacher diagnoses where they're good, where they're bad. And it's ultimately the goal is to make them the best that they can be. And the goal is that, like, you can't dishevel that. And like you as the coach should want to see that. I feel like some of these bad coaches, their heart wasn't in making the students better. They just said like a technique or this or that. They're so heavy on technique. And I don't think it was ever simplified enough and clarified, which I think is so important in the fluffy, vague arts world.
Jimmy Kimmel did this great parody on being like an acting teacher, like one of the famous acting teachers. And I think that's such a fascinating thing because it's not like they're a director, who I feel like would be better for actors, like to be able to work with some kind of director of clout because he's actually been on a set. They've, they know what makes a good actor. But like, it's such a weird, like interesting group of people who are like, I'm an acting teacher. They're not even known for acting. They're not known for directing, but they're known for being an acting teacher. It's like him. Who else? Like there's like 5, like Stella Adler. Like it's just interesting to be known for that.
It's crazy. Well, now there definitely isn't. And honestly, I don't mind that concept. Like if someone really is a great coach that has inspired a lot of actors, like fine. But I just think, whereas a lot of directors I've noticed are quick to point out that they want to be like an athlete's coach. They want to be an actor's director, and they want to point out like, I don't know how to act. I'm just going to tell you what the script says, and then you do it. I think that is good, but also like that really good acting class I was in, the best thing that they did was no teacher was like favored over another necessarily. It was just like they were bringing the script to life in the best possible way.
Mhm.
And they would like, you'd get a lot of acting time and they'd let you go through it, but then you did it a second time where they would stop and go, you and say like, try this, try that, try that, try this. And like, it wasn't as much on, oh, this technique is so important, which I think is great because so many bullshit actors that I know are like, oh, I was training in this technique for so long, and I was training that. And it's incentivized because on your resume as an actor, you put like what technique you trained. And I've seen, I fully have known that there's been points in my life where like I was amazing at one technique and it still didn't make me a good actor. It's just like that specific thing. I think a good actor is able to bring a vision to life quickly, or
Mhm.
not necessarily quickly, but just like well.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's just there's no literal way to do that. It's just like you trying to do it. And something I say that my British friend Eddie agreed with me on was, it said do it with the path of least resistance. Because one time I tried to do like a scene on a set and I did it really quickly and I did it really well, but I was like, oh crap, I wasn't doing a technique though. And I tried to like diagnose what it was that I did, and my scene partner, who's really smart, he was just like, dude, no, don't worry about it. Just try it again and it'll be great. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's all that matters. And also the casting does like 80% of the work. Like if you get the role, the director wanted you for that role because you fit into that type of vision. And just by being a human who's like breathing, if you're just responding like and you're in the moment, that's most of the work. I mean, what
Like
else do you want? You know? Everything else is telling the story. Like if the camera angle, the environment, what you're wearing,
I
and
know. It's all actually, that's pretty like literal stuff. Like
yeah.
Spencer Tracy pointed out, just show up, don't bump into the furniture, know your lines. But I do think there's a lot of actual things that are creative that you can do to make the thing better. And that's when the real fun happens. It happens when you're not worried about memorizing lines. You're not necessarily worried about costume or anything, but it'd be the same if you're on a comedy. What's going to make the moment better? What's going to make the moment scarier in a horror film? What's going to make the moment more interesting in a drama? If you're showing, let's use an example of The Social Network, where like the friend shows up and realizes that Facebook was taken away from him, and he gets to the offices and he's sad or whatever. If there's something that like they feel like is important in the psychology of the moment and it's not coming across yet, you as an actor can figure out like, okay, well, what would it really have been like in that moment in real life? And that's what the director's trying to figure out. That's what the set decorator is trying to figure out. Everyone's trying to figure out how it would have been in real life, and even if it was made up. And that acting school that I went to, actually, the best thing, like their foundation was try to figure out how those people actually thought. Think between the lines. And Hugh Grant has said he does the same thing. He actually covers the lines, and based off everything that he's read above, he thinks like, well, what would my character say next? So he tries to get in the head of the character.
That's really smart.
I think so. Because then now you're thinking about, it's kind of creative. It's fun. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, how does this kid Think, who is from Brazil in the social network. He's Eduardo Savern. He's from Brazil, but he goes to Harvard and he's pretty cool, but he's got his best friend that invented this thing and he's a part of it, but he wanted him sort of more of a business mind. And then ultimately there on that moment in those offices, he's just been betrayed by this guy. And he knows it's not proper business for him. He knows he's been betrayed as a friend. He's going to let it all rain right now.
Mhm.
And sometimes the lines can actually get in the way of that clear psychology, because you say the line before like letting everything organically come, but ultimately what I'm describing right there is giving an impression of what it would be like, and that's the same for fiction as well. But you get into that moment of what it would be like, and that's pretty fun. That's what, when I hear actors say get out of your head and get into the character's head,
Right.
you can actually do that, but it's your best impression of them. You're doing a performance of what it would be like.
And the actor's job is to be realistic in the given circumstances. And that's all that is. That's like being a human being.
That's what I just described.
Yeah. It's
Try
like
to be realistic in those circumstances.
it's like us talking here, like we're here in this moment, we're having a conversation, as I'm thinking about like what's next or whatever, that process that Hugh Grant's got is really smart.
And it's so simple, which is the beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
wait, sorry. That I think a good example for me too is like on the day of that film that I did with Blaine, where we're
Yep.
The Night in the Life of a Fraternity movie, and like it was supposed to be such a intense fight scene between me and him where we go off on each other. It was really the perfect opportunity to test all that stuff out, because Blaine and I were at a point where it was like we were kind of improvising after knowing our lines flat, and we were really trying to just create these circumstances the best they could be. There was no inhibitions at that point. We were both like feeling really like confident and stuff.
Mhm.
And Blaine at a certain point asked the director, he's like trying to get into the circumstances, and he's saying, all right, so I'm thinking about my friend is that he looks at it in this photo, and that means this to me, and he's talking as the character, and I totally get that, and I like implore that. I think that's the vibe. You're trying to get into the circumstances, and that time for what would work was the director, this kid Peter, was smart, and he said, maybe don't even worry about the circumstances. Actually, he was like, just don't think at all, and just let's see what comes from like just working off Duke right now. And I don't know if that's a great place to start, but in that moment, after we've done it a bunch of times, that's how you're going to capture probably some spark, some spontaneous moment or whatever. And you naturally still try to get into the circumstances and everything, and try not to know what's going to happen next.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, the great Hugh Grant as well, he did say he does let all that go, all the thoughts of the character and stuff. When he's actually there, he's going to try to just trust his best instincts to do what would be happening in that moment. But for instance, he gave a great example too, which was that there's a whole 5-page scene in the show that he did, The Undoing, where he's supposed to be, someone's on the stand in a courtroom and he's listening as the person being accused, and he doesn't have any lines, but the camera keeps coming to him, and he has to be doing what that character would be doing. And granted, it's not much, he's not speaking, but like he's still, if he's doing nothing, like trying to think, like be spontaneous, it might not play. He might just be sitting there doing nothing. But so then he tries to insert his thoughts, consciously think a thought. He comes up with a thought that his character would be thinking, and like it actually changes your view, how you see him. Like if I think like happy, it's like, if I think sad, it's like, ooh, and like as simple as that, and he would get really specific.
That is a very simple process that I relate to, that like if I was acting, I would be along the same lines.
Yes.
I'm curious to get your opinion on two things. One, Christian Bale, my dad was on his set for Pale Blue Eye because he was like the medical consultant or whatever for like the props.
Yeah.
And he said that Christian would come on set and you know, he would be called like the other name of the character by everyone, and like
Right.
all of his movements were so slow and exact and just like the character. That's one example. The second that comes to mind is Meryl Streep in Sophie's Choice.
Okay.
You know that film?
Yeah, of course.
And that one pivotal moment where she makes the choice, the one scene that the whole movie is about, she told everyone that she was only going to give one take for that moment because it's so intense, so emotionally intense. What do you think about both those things? First, staying in character throughout an entire shoot and only being referred to as that person. And number two, only giving one take because the emotions of that moment are so high.
Yeah, no, I'll get my thoughts on it. Those are two good examples. I think for one, it's a little corny to make other people have to kowtow to your stuff. Obviously, and there's a lot of big actors coming out about it now, but like making everyone refer to you as the character's name and stuff, it's just a little childish. But because at the end of the day, even though in these crazy stories that Christian Bale is a part of and Meryl Streep's a part of, they're really high charged moments to moment. At the end of the day, they're just like doing Civil War reenactments, right? Like those people are playing dress up and trying to like feel what it would have been like in the Civil War and stuff. And they're doing that whole thing, or a Renaissance fair. They're trying to like
Right.
just do that. And yeah, like Daniel Day-Lewis on Lincoln, he's gonna chill in that sort of vibe and that like lifestyle of that character, Lincoln, whatever. His best impression of what it would be like. And doing it outside of when they say stop and go can I think so, you know, like the little girl in Once Upon a Time Hollywood captured it perfectly. The little 12-year-old, she says it helps just a little bit, maybe add some authenticity. That being said, I've tried that type of thing, even for my own like impression videos and stuff back in the day. And sometimes you feel like you're so in the character and like not aware of the technical, and yet it doesn't come off good.
Mm. So it's kind of
That's
self-indulgent, but the actual performance is not on par.
yeah, doesn't matter. No matter what the mystique of the process was. And I think a lot of times that process stuff just adds to the like the hype of the film, if nothing else. I think it's kind of toxic if there's like young actors like being assholes about it. Rob Lowe famously says in his book that when they did Risky Business when he was a kid, Tom Cruise was like, "You can't talk to me outside of stuff because I'm in character." And like they're friends, but it was just like, yeah, stuff like that. I feel like it's just the crap in the acting world that people are able to get away with. The thing on but that being said, like, yeah, I think making a movie is about being a great team.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And at the end of the day,
Most collaborative thing in the world.
it's collaborative. You know, you gotta be, and it's gotta have a high standard of professionalism. It just does. And like there's been so many things that have brought it down, lowered the bar, and a lot of bureaucracy and BS and stuff. And I think it should just be more classy.
Yeah.
But um with the case of like Meryl Streep saying, oh, I'm gonna do one take. I mean, that's interesting because she doesn't seem like she seems like the ultimate team player that'd be down and do whatever.
Totally. And I think she is. It's just a
Who knows?
story that I heard, you know?
No, and it's not too dissimilar from like other actors. There's a chance on one end that she could have just been like overdoing more because they got it in one. Like I think most actors these days, especially older ones, like to not work as much as they have to. Then again, there's the story of Jack Nicholson on A Few Good Men, where he was doing "You Can't Handle the Truth" speech over and over and over at 100%, even though he wasn't even on camera. And Rob Reiner took him aside and said, "You know, you don't save some for the camera." And he goes, "I just love acting." That's so he just wanted to get into that slice of it, which is like a beautiful thing. And so Meryl Streep saying she do it once. Sounds like it was a pretty tough situation to conjure up. I mean,
as a filmmaker, that would be an incredibly difficult scenario because think of it from the director's POV. It's like the most pivotal moment of the entire scene, and you only get one shot. Like, what if it's out of focus? You're fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also understand from hers too. And I know you had to head after a half hour. We're already there.
I appreciate it, buddy.
But before we head, what do you
Oh.
got going on this week?
Yeah, thanks, man. Value Mentality Farmers Market Sunday. I had a big meeting with a guy today that helped me out with a lot of stuff. It's awesome. Just really clarified some stuff for me.
Great.
Starting a new acting class
Really?
on Thursday. Yeah.
Like with other people? It's not just
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my buddy Blaine is in it. He says it's
Larry
good.
Moss.
Larry Moss's protege, Gary Moss. Actually, no. That's it's just a chill teacher. She has a lot of working people. So we'll see.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah, man. How about yourself?
I'm dropping shorts again. So I've got one coming out today, and I'm gonna see about shooting another one for next week, see how long we can keep that up. And then also this featured thing with Ken. It's exciting because I can actually see us, finishing it. It's like it's not about like getting all the money and then having 15 days and not knowing how to accomplish that. It's more, let's just make a ton of shorts that are really high end, high quality, and then piece them together, make a feature.
I like it, man. Awesome. Hey, did we didn't post last week's, right?
Did we not?
No.
I got it. We got 2 then, man. 2 this
That's
week.
in
That's
the can.
exciting.
2 in the can. Double down.
Whew. Good shit.
All right, my boy.
Always a pleasure.
Best.
All right, man. Have a good week.
You too, buddy.